We welcome back a very special guest this week, the actor Samantha Béart, best known as the voice of Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3, as they talk acting process, engaging with fans, and being really good at Mortal Kombat. All that in today's episode of the PlayStation Access Podcast. Hello and welcome to the PlayStation Access Podcast, the official podcast of PlayStation UK. I am your host, Rob Pearson. We are joined today by Rosie Caddick.
Hello, everyone.
And returning special guest, actor Samantha Béart. Sam, it is a pleasure to welcome you back to the podcast. How have you been?
I'm great. It's been a year, I believe.
Has it been a year?
At least, I think.
Wow.
I thought it was like 2 years around that.
No.
No, it wasn't. It was spring last year.
Was it spring?
Yeah, because I was
Oh my
looking for the
gosh.
address. So I had to go back through all the old emails.
That's right, because you
Yeah.
were talking about Valentine's Day having just happened.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have the whole
February.
episode
Okay.
talking about our romance.
A lot of it was...
There we go. Now we can place it.
A lot of it was talking about romance. A lot of it was the boyfriend list.
That's
Have you made a boyfriend list yet?
I've now forgotten it.
Oh, no.
Maybe some more will be opened up in conversation when we're chatting.
Maybe.
But also, when we last spoke, Sam, you were very clear and you said to me, Rob, when I come back on the podcast, please don't just ask me about Baldur's Gate 3. So, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, let's do it. Finally, somebody's going to ask me about it.
I do have to mention it at the start because it's this massive thing. And I'm just interested to know how has your life changed, if at all, since playing Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3? Because I don't think anyone could have anticipated how huge this game has been, like culturally as well as like commercially. So how are things for you post Baldur's Gate 3?
I feel it's not post. You know, people are still playing. There might even be more people playing now. Because I've just come back from Dragon Con in Atlanta, Georgia, and they're still packing out stadiums full of fans. You know, we thought we'd have a good month, and then the next game would come along and sweep us off and all the rest. So we weren't expecting this. I'm con famous. I'm games famous. Walking down the street, absolutely fine, which is how I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally changed my life. I mean, I've had a few big breaks in my life that haven't gone anywhere. So I did something called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy years ago, and that didn't quite go anywhere. There was a tour, didn't go to America, could have done. And then there was some other stuff I did that should have been the break, didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
And it was a video game. So there we are. Didn't expect that at all.
So how do you find it going to conventions and things? Then you mentioned how you go into a games convention and all of a sudden
I can't walk around.
People are coming up to you asking for photos, and how is that for you?
It's actually rather sweet because normally I go, I'm signing things, I'm doing panels, playing games, but occasionally I'll go to something like PAX where I'm a punter. I'm just there to play some games, see what's up, see some friends. And people are so polite. They'll just say, oh, hi, is it you? Can I have a selfie? And then that's it. That's the end of the interaction. And there is a certain privilege of them recognizing you. So, would you like a front row seat for this? Yes. Yes, it is me. And everyone's just very normal about it, and I feel very much part of the community in a way that the reason I wasn't going to things like PAX was money. I didn't have the money to do that, to fly across to the States and do it. So it's all sort of happening at the same time, and I feel like I'm more part of the community than I was before. And it's just been delightful. It really has. The fans are just lovely people, are very intelligent when I do have time to talk to them at the table. Very smart people, very funny, very interesting folks, and it's been incredibly enriching meeting those fans.
That is good to hear that it has been a largely positive experience.
Very much so, yeah.
For
me.
Because these, fans of, I guess, narrative games and role-playing games like Baldur's Gate 3, they're very sort of passionate and knowledgeable, and they'll have spent tens, if not hundreds of hours with Karlach, and I guess making those decisions. And I guess they in some ways there's like a relationship where almost they feel like, oh, they know Karlach at least, and you're a big part of what has brought Karlach to life. So how do you feel, I guess, about that sort of dynamic between the actor and the audience? Like, are they interactions that you enjoy having?
Oh, very much so. And of course, their flavour of Karlach will be different to someone else's.
Yeah.
You know, I've played like every iteration of Karlach, and I have my own idea of where I would push her in a game, or where she lands with me, or this. But this idea of like the authentic version of the character doesn't really exist. So you've played the multiverse, you know.
Yeah.
You can even play, if you play her as Origin, you can play her evil. A lot of people don't really like to do that because it's a fixed idea that she's a good character, like good aligned. But maybe Tav's good influence isn't there when it's just her, and there's no one to guide her down the right path, and she's mad at the world. And that to me
She
also
goes
makes
all
sense.
chaos.
Oh, dude, have you seen the ending? Have you
No,
seen
I haven't.
There's an evil ending. It's on YouTube. And it's interesting you talk about players, because a lot of our players have never played a game before. This is their first
Right.
game.
Oh, really?
And I go, it literally gets easier. You've done so well because you stuck with something that could be very intimidating, that sort of style of game. And some of them have only ever watched it on YouTube. That is their experience. And they're very attached to these characters. And again, have their own idea of what the true path is, because that's what makes sense to them.
That's fascinating that you have sort of said that's
Isn't
sort of
it mad?
it's blown my mind a little bit that
Yeah.
someone's first game could be Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, and then they'll say like, I like this sort of stuff. What else? And you go, well, they're all BioWare games, I guess, like Mass Effect and Dragons. You can romance them. That's essentially what you want. So, but you know, there's very story-rich games that pull you in ways you weren't expecting because of those human interactions in them.
Well, you mentioned also people, you know, live shows that you do, and Dungeons and Dragons is so closely aligned with Baldur's Gate 3, obviously. And there is there feels like there's been a resurgence in recent years of people not just enjoying what traditionally would have been seen as nerdy things.
Still nerdy, it's just nerds are cool now.
For sure. Yeah, exactly that. Like it's not something that you have to be embarrassed about now. Dungeons and Dragons is cool.
Yeah.
And you can pack out an entire theatre of people watching Dungeons and Dragons being played live. So do you get the sense that Baldur's Gate 3 is something that has spilled beyond the world of video games, and that people who, like you say, maybe have never played a game before, don't necessarily enjoy video games as a hobby, can find something to enjoy in these characters and in this world?
Absolutely. And of course, the way we play them live is our own headcanon of you know, I think I could speak for the rest of the cast saying when Tav's away, all the breaks come off, like nobody's watching. We can, and it's completely chaotic, and that's what people love about those live shows. The numbers are in their millions and millions across social media. And you will get a load of D&D players who won't have played Baldur's Gate, so why are they ruining the game? But that's fine, because it's becoming more, if you look at Daggerheart coming through, it's becoming more role play than it is wargaming.
Yeah.
And you've got things like 40k if you want to do that. But it's interesting watching, you know, now you're getting actors and improvisers and comedians are playing. You've got Tom Morello plays D&D. There's nothing cooler than that, right? Vince Vaughn plays D&D. They all play together. It's been really quite something, and it does seem to be a trend at the moment. I was at a Fan Expo Con in Boston, and there was a real push to get video game actors who've never played before to play D&D, and there were a few nights when they were doing it. Of course, they're total naturals because we're leaning into the role play side of things.
Yeah.
Because once you realise that you can pretty much do anything, when the actor gets it, it's really magical to watch. But yeah, it sort of works both ways. You've got people who've only played D&D will come to Baldur's Gate, and people who've only played video games coming to D&D and other forms of role-playing, tabletop role-playing games like Call of Cthulhu, you know, which is arguably a lot easier. It's also a lot easier to die.
Right.
in fact, if you haven't died, are you playing it properly?
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. And I think something I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, is since Baldur's Gate 3, and I think Final Fantasy 16 came out around the same time, it feels like there's been like a new wave of, you said it earlier, like video game celebrity. But actors who aren't just knowledgeable about the games they're in, they're also fans of the games they're in, it feels like. And they've developed this connection, I think, with the audience that seems to be more than what we've had before, certainly. I think over this last year or so, like there's a group of actors, I think, who really, and yourself among them, who really seem to have formed this connection with the audience. Is that fair to say? Do you think what is your take on that sort of dynamic?
Yeah, I think what's changed, well, first of all, Baldur's Gate had about 500 British actors in it. So suddenly they're being unleashed onto the world. You know, something gets swept up by an algorithm and suddenly everyone's watching performances wanting to know who they are. But also, yeah, there's a whole bunch of us that actually play games. And it's very unusual for actors to be able to go into a medium and not care about it. And yet that's what happens with games. Mm-hmm. Film and TV and theatre, if you went in and went, yeah, I mean, I'm not really into Shakespeare, but like this Macbeth stuff sounds pretty cool, right? You do not work. You will not work. In video games, you're allowed to do that. And it's a shame that there isn't a curiosity, like the idea that you maybe won't even see what your character looks like until it comes out. You might not know what game you're in until someone calls you up during Summer Games Fest and goes, was that you in the trailer? Because that's a classic. Right. And next time you have a games actor and ask them about that, has someone else told them that they're in a game? Because I think we've all had that experience.
Oh, wow.
You get a call going.
So you don't even see what your character looks like or anything?
No,
do you get like a description?
Sometimes. Yeah, you might get a description. I mean, who they are is more important because, you know, if someone is sly or someone is a very noble person, that's going to help me more than looking at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they're a person of stature or they're small, you know, they're a fantasy goblin, that might require some different vocalizations and that helps. They're getting better at it. You know, things are changing. Just to plug Fading Echo, which if you're watching is on my T-shirt, which is coming to PlayStation 5 next year. But that's a non-NDA project. So we can come back to that if you want, but I'm allowed to say anything about it. And I think that's the thing that those of us that have come through and become more well known is because we did do our homework. We did find out what we were in, or at least genre. Genre is huge because something like Baldur's Gate is so operatic versus something like Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, which is very domestic, and again that requires a completely different size of performance, just in the most crude terms, and that really helps an actor. You know, the classic is, don't use theatre actors because just yell. Well, they're just doing, you know, you haven't given them anything, but I think the actor needs to be a little bit more curious about this sort of thing.
That's, I think, a really fascinating point. I guess some of it must have something to do with the growing sophistication of technology in terms of video games. Like, theatre has been around for decades, film for decades, television for decades, and video games as something that actors can be a part of. I guess, you know, actors of a particular generation will have not grown up with video games as a viable thing for them to be in, and now increasingly they are. We spoke recently with Tom McKay, who plays Henry of Skalitz in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and he did not play video games growing up, and he mentioned how it was like an incredibly eye-opening experience for him being in this video game, just like a light bulb moment where he realised, okay, video games are a viable thing where an actor can really get stuck into a performance. Do you see that kind of thing? Like you said, it's improving now, but I guess going forward, we're talking like 10, 50 years in the future where it is just natural for an aspiring actor to have, okay, theatre, screen, video games as something that is a medium fit for an actor.
I hope so. I think what's happened is part of the reason, it's been the poor cousin of the other media is, well, there's a total lack of coverage in mass media. They don't cover the vast variety of games. It's not that interest. You could go 10 years back and there's videos on YouTube mocking certain voice performances. Well, we're doing Mocap, we're doing FMV. You have to be a complete actor. You get asked all the time about voice acting going into it. It's a bigger requirement now. And I think what Baldur's Gate did is proved that people are really interested in good narrative. I've seen it getting injected into, you know, live action games. They're starting to bring romance chapters in because they know what sells. You know, they know people want to invest in those characters, and they are. And I've watched it change in the last 2 years. It's great for me, great business. You want me to do some more acting? I think I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, for me personally, I was training. God, it would have been around 2008, right? Let's just say that for argument's sake. Ezio de Auditore, one of the boyfriends I mentioned last time, of course.
Yes.
Felt like this complete character. Like when his opening scene, the cinematic, you know, he jumps out of some woman's window, he's running down the street and he's a lad, you know, and it's like this lost Shakespearean character, and he's a full, you know, and that was something went ding in my head. I went, okay, there's something more to this than it being a cathartic experience, just hitting stuff and getting the treasure. There is some story. And then for me personally, I'd been playing a lot of Tough Chicks in Space for Big Finish productions. They do Doctor Who and Torchwood and that sort of stuff. So I've been playing all that for a while in audio. And then I played Mass Effect 2 and there was a female option. And that was it. I went, oh, right, yeah, I could do this medium, couldn't I? There is something for me in this medium. And so it took someone else to do it for me to realise that's the thing, despite the fact I've been playing games a lot longer than I've been acting.
So Mass Effect 2 for you was the game that made you realise I could be in games. I could
actually do that. Yeah. Because I said I love sci-fi and fantasy, and it's a medium where it doesn't matter what you look like. If Baldur's Gate 3 was live action, I wouldn't be in it, as we know. And neither would half the other cast. They're either too tall or small or old or young. We played something completely different. It was the bodies, it was the energy. Because obviously we did the mocap as well. I say obviously not everyone knows that, so I mention it because it was hundreds of hours of mocap for the lines that you get in the game. And so you get that full living, breathing performance. And I think that's what might have resonated with people. It wasn't an animation on a cycle or someone else's interpretation of the words, which you then kind of have to match after with the voice. I've never had to do that yet, but I'm not looking forward to it because I feel I had the luxury of it being my own breath and body and working with that and that giving you some of it. I can actually back off on the voice a little bit because you've got the body language as well.
Well, I was going to ask you, how much has the medium of video games changed from an actor's point of view in the 10 years that you've been acting in video games now? And does the pace of change in video games, how does that compare to the pace of change in theatre or audio recording? Like my thought is that video games change very quickly compared to the mediums, but I'm interested to get your
that is the answer. But as I said, there is such a variety of games. There's one that I can't talk about yet. That is very in situ. We recorded on phones. Sometimes the phone's in the pocket and it's overhearing an argument, or you can hear people are walking away from it. Right. It's a game where your phone is listening in on everything. It's a little prescient, and
love that.
Love that vibe. A little fable, a little warning for us, maybe allowing permissions. All that but you'll see this character on Instagram and her life there versus her real life at home and what she's going through, and it's something there's something very voyeuristic about that, and radio's been doing that for a long time, and we've had single person handheld or point of view stuff in film for a while. It's still seen as quite experimental because it's very striking, but that's interesting that variety is now coming into games, and it's a very simple, it's a found phone, kind of you find this person's phone, you start going through conversations, then about halfway through you realise it's actually listening into conversations as well, and so you got that as a sort of fun dynamic. The game is not fun, but in terms mechanically it's a fun dynamic for those of us who want her. So that's great, and some studios are now using actors for marketing. It's still a minority. Sometimes you're still laughed out of the room. You mention it and they go, okay, weirdo, people will buy it if you're in it. We'll tag you on Twitter. Okay, thank you very much. And you're like, okay.
Can't do anything more.
No.
So what's your personal relationship with video games, Sam? You mentioned in the previous podcast that you were in that you're a fan of narrative games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Were you always a big gamer growing up? Were video games a big part of your childhood?
Yeah, so being in this mortal coil, I was not allowed to play games. It was forbidden. So I relied on a lot of friends, older brothers, for access to old consoles. So my first console was an Amstrad CPC 464 with a green screen. Yes, ancient, that's right. He was giving it away because he was getting a Sega Mega Drive. And there was me like rage quitting Road Rash and then turn the tape off and you go, oh no, I've got to load this up for another 20 minutes. It didn't stop me though. I was always a rage quitter. And then arcade games. I loved fighting games, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I remember putting the blood on, getting the code. Oh, you're all too young. You had a code, you could put the blood on. And nowadays it's almost X-ray, it's almost pornographic in the way they show you the kills, the fatalities. But then it looked like photographs that are animated. And then you had to put the blood on because the blood might corrupt you.
Wow.
I forgot that there was a code for that. Was that like on the actual...
Up, down, left, right or something like that? Yeah.
Sam's just like, don't worry guys, I've got this. I've got you.
And I was quite good at that. I used to make boys cry.
Excellent.
And then began a lifelong love for games.
Who was your main? Who was your main?
Scorpion.
Scorpion. Yeah.
Get over here.
Get over here.
Uppercut. Spam that
Yes.
as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Because your reflexes are golden.
I remember mine used to be
Rob's looking at
reptile.
me in horror.
No, I'm not horror at all. I love this kind of stuff. Go on, Rosie.
I was going to say, my main, when I was introduced to Mortal Kombat, mine was reptile because I thought it was really cool that it was like Scorpion, but
Yes,
more
with the
like
tongue.
a lizard. And it was the acid spit. Like, I was always there like,
Oh, that was nasty.
Yeah.
I can never duck out of the way fast enough.
I was that reptile player that was just like all the
You
time.
spam your special move, and then you hopefully you don't mess up the fatality
Yep.
move because that's something else.
I never could do them. So literally, like, you always try, because I remember like at the time it was like the PS1 cheat book or something like that, and it would always say like, oh yeah, you just go up to it and then press these buttons, and literally my character goes up, and it's all about the distance
You
as
have like,
well.
yes, that's right. I remember you'd sort of line up and you move back,
Yeah,
pixel, one
move back,
pixel, and then it go game over, and you're
down, and then it's like, oh, I'm down now. You're like,
Damn
oh,
it.
Brilliant, yeah, great fatality.
Oh, well done.
Well done. I was really cool and violent then, thanks. They just flopped to the floor. I love that.
Oh,
That's
God,
exactly.
you're bringing back memories.
Amazing. So, Rosie, you I guess can empathise with that, having to try and borrow games off your older brother kind of thing.
Yeah,
as
well, mine was, so my first console was the PS1, and when I was born, my dad was someone who was very interested in the video game scene, and then when they saw like the PS1, they wanted like Gran Turismo, Wipeout, so he was someone who was like, I need a PS1.
Yeah.
So I've always grown up with one, and like my growing up with video games has been, when I was very young, it was a lot of watching my dad and my brother play games, like my dad showing my brother how games work. And then when I was finally learned how a controller works and things like that, my first game was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, which is why earlier when you said people are playing Baldur's Gate 3 as their first game, I was just like, that's so much more complex than Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
They really want to kiss those characters. I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't know if you Cortex.
They're really hot. It's
a big
an
draw.
indie dating
It's a big
sim.
draw, isn't it? Basically,
I call it an
game.
indie dating sim, essentially.
Oh, but sadly, I mean, Cortex, he tries, but he didn't have that sort of pull for me. Not back then.
By the way, there'll be someone out there that's really, really into that.
Yeah, someone out there's
me.
just going to be like,
I've
I
done
am.
those panels.
Really?
Romance in video games. Everyone wants to bang everything. It's spoilers.
Have you had someone come up to you and say, you know Dr. Cortex from Crash Bandicoot?
No, you're the first.
I've never
Well, it's an embryo.
I'm more of an
It's
embryo.
an
I'm more
embryo
of
on
an
your
embryo.
boyfriend list.
Yeah, Embryo, who is like, do you know Embryo from Crash Bandicoot?
No.
He's like Cortex's kind of assistant, also kind of partner, and literally he's on the boyfriend list because in Crash Bandicoot 2 there's a moment where he goes "Hurrah!" and I just thought it was amazing. And also when we played Crash Bash, he has a taunt where he just goes like and I loved it so much.
That's my man.
And I was like, that's my guy. That's my Crash Bandicoot boyfriend.
Crush Bandicoots, please. That's what we're going to call it from now on.
Yes, I love that so
Yes.
much. Crush Bandicoot.
Yeah, we play Smash or Pass like every PAX, and again, spoilers. Everyone wants to smash everything. You're not supposed to go no. So they'll show a sentient tree, and you're like, yeah, I really want to bang the tree.
Smash
Yeah.
this tree.
Smash that tree.
Smash that tree.
in a non-violent way.
Right.
It's the same. I see people doing it with like horror games, and you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
horrific, you have a
No, come
horrific
on now.
monster. You have a horrific monster, and then that's the thing. Like some people just forget that they're a monster, and it's just
Yeah,
like.
talk about a lack of representation. Earlier, a gay friend of mine realised he was gay because he was in love with Pyramid Head.
Really?
That tells you everything. That's a lack of
Wow.
representation. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Fine, you'll do. Try not to kill me.
Please, Pyramid Head, please. But I also had like those moments, like when you were saying that you played games like you probably shouldn't be playing, like Mortal Kombat. I remember watching my dad play Resident Evil, which is why it's so special to me as a series now, because it absolutely terrified me as a child. And I will literally never forget like the zombie, like the first time you see it and it turns its head, like absolutely traumatized me, and now I absolutely adore the series. It's one of my favorites of all
That's
time.
one of the first I played on the PlayStation as
Was
well.
it as well?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's so big.
It's
Everyone
so
was playing
good.
it.
It's
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's the thing. It was so
Yeah,
big, everyone
everyone-
was playing it. So I feel like quite fortunate for me, where it's like, by the time that I was learning video games, was like in the PS1 era. So it was like, oh, look at all these games
Yeah,
coming out,
great
all these
times.
big
Yeah.
titles, and I was there like hello, I'm going to learn how to play Crash Bandicoot. And oh, Dad,
And
are you
be
playing...
very good at it.
Are you playing Resident Evil? What's this? Oh no! And then I just like run off and cry.
And I liked a bit of Wipeout. I used to relax to that.
Yes.
The soundtrack was so good, and it was so pretty to look
Yes,
at.
Wipeout.
Yeah.
Is it 2097? Which that's the one that I remember just because it's so like bright and flashy as well. Like when you're going through it and like you have the checkered floors and the striped
It's
floors.
kind of like hypnotic. You get into that fugue state where you're
Yeah.
just going with the flow. And
Yeah.
if you've played it enough, then it's almost like a Souls game. It's,
Yeah.
The wrong pixel will crash your car. So you've got to just, it's a button memory at that point, isn't it?
And I still today, like whenever, you know, in Wipeout when you get like the items and then you have an announcer say it, like still
Yes.
today, if I'm playing a game and there's mines involved, or even if like someone says, if I'm picking up like a cookie, I'll just go like mine, like just to quote Wipeout from when the announcer says it. Just growing up with it all those years.
Nice.
Was there something, do you think, then in the allure of the forbidden, in terms of
The forbidden.
the games that you are compelled to play, like the Mortal Kombats, but also, as you say, feeling like video games weren't necessarily a world that you were welcome in as a child? Like, was that something that attracted you to video games, do you think?
Possibly. I was brought up Catholic, so everything's forbidden, you know. I saw, keys to the character, I saw Hellraiser when I was 8. And what I liked about Hellraiser when I was 8 was the special effects. Really liked them. Thought it was really well made. Didn't haunt me in any way, didn't stone me. I just thought, oh, this is cool. I saw Terminator 2, way too young. I saw all those video nasties at my friend's house. In fact, I think there's a short film in that. 2 10, 11-year-old girls just watching horror films on VHS. We loved all that.
Formative experiences.
It really was. And so, picking up a game. I don't recommend if you're a parent, you let that happen. But it wasn't my parents who were enabling that. I was doing that behind their back. But yeah, it was. I guess it was the thrill. It's that, and then you've got this interactive medium, and now your choices matter, or at least there's consequences. It's a really thrilling medium.
Yes. You mentioned Final Fantasy VII as well. Did you play that as a?
I certainly
as
did.
a
I
kid?
played it on PC, so I had to make sure it was all patched up and everything, so I could actually play. Yeah, that was something else. But I remember getting the box because a friend of mine had all the PC games, and it was the box had a mouse mat in it and everything. And looking at it now, it's as blocky as hell. But that opening scene at the train station looked so 4K in my memory because it doesn't look like that now. When it was so atmospheric, and again, that storytelling through visual and audio medium rather than words. You know, I've got Cloud's voice in my head. It sounds completely different to what is now official. You know, we all did. And
Can you replicate? Can I
replicate his voice?
Yeah, what you thought it was.
I mean, it's more like he transmits thoughts into my head. I can't do his voice. It's very twinky, obviously.
Because I always
Sweet
have it
boy.
when you're like reading something, you've got a character's voice in your head. It's like you can hear like a voice, but it's also like
I can't verbalize it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like also it's like, but it's also like my voice. Like
it's like when you're reading a novel, I guess, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you couldn't just.
But there's that whole thing
the voice.
recently, wasn't there, where some people don't have an internal monologue, and we've all discovered this about ourselves. That some people have. Yeah. There's people out there go, you've got a voice in your head. Not in my head, but when I read something,
I've always wanted, it's just like a shower thought of mine. And I don't actually know the answer. When I am reading something, is it my own voice I'm hearing in my head? And I don't know.
But it is a voice.
It's a voice,
But not everyone has that.
So when you're reading a book, right, you hear the words in your head, surely.
I do,
Yeah.
but some people don't. It's a thing. Check it out.
How does it work, though?
I don't know. We're all fascinated by each other.
literally.
I'm like, you hear a voice? What kind of voice?
How do you read without hearing the word in your head? Who knows? Well, we're going off on a tangent here. Let's bring it back.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you then, you're clearly a fan of video games. How has being in video games affected how you play video games, if at all?
It's a bit like film, actually. When you do your first film, you're hypercritical about what everyone else does. You go, yes, I would have done it different. And then you realise how much hard work has gone into it and how difficult that whole thing is, and you give it some grace. I certainly don't find myself judging other things. Sometimes you go, oh, that was a bit flat. Did the actor know? Did you give them enough direction? You know, or that doesn't suit that scene. But it's always what actually gets released is what the devs were happy with, and it's the same in film. You know, if you see a so-called awful performance, someone said that was cool and they didn't need any more. So I never blame the actor for that. But that'll probably be what I'm watching now. a bit. But when it's you get, I'm more of a player. I'm getting immersed in it. I'm not a producer. I'm not a money person looking to see if it's worth putting money into. Just as a player, it's so good. And what they're asking of us is so much better than it was 10, 15 years ago. It's allowed to be sophisticated now. Not saying it never was, because I think there's some really great narrative-led games, but now it's a given. 10 years ago, you still had devs doing it themselves. And then going, oh, it doesn't work, does it? It's a bit flat when I do it. And get the professional. And they're starting to go like, maybe we should bring a director in. Maybe we should bring a casting director. They're starting to realise these are real jobs and skills. And
well, you mentioned on the previous episode that you came in on about the intimacy coordinators as well. And it just speaks to acting being taken seriously, or certainly more seriously than it had been.
Well, if you're going to demand sex
video
scenes and you're going to have intimacy coordinators in other medium, then it's got to come into this one as well.
Yeah.
That's really all it is it's starting to level up. It's all the same people, our movement people were from theatre, or we had motion capture folk were from animation, people are coming in from everything. And so, I think there should be that crossover in practices.
And I guess it speaks to video games being technologically sophisticated enough to have almost no barrier, I guess. It's a very human performance now. Whereas we talk about something like Final Fantasy VII, and the characterization is done, the dialogue's in a text box, but the characterization is done by these little tiny graphical sprites.
It still worked, and we still fell in love with them.
Oh, for sure. And I think Final Fantasy VII is a great example of something that really nails character quite simply, just in the way the characters are moving and expressing
how
themselves.
many games at the time do you have a sort of, after the big fight, you have a sit and a chat about it, talk about your feelings and how much you don't get that in video. You didn't get that in video games before then, or it's certainly, not in my experience. And so playing this first JRPG for me it just opened the world as to what could be done, and I realised there were all these genres and there was something for everyone. And that's what I still say to people that don't know about video games. Maybe know 2 or 3 that the newspapers love to cover. But you have to say there's a genre called cozy. I didn't know that term 5 years ago. There's all these new things popping up, and I just think it's wonderful the amount of choice there is for players.
Absolutely. And I guess there is no real, you can get a full human performance in a video game now. Depending on obviously if it's like a big AAA game, you can get full on facial nuanced expressions and everything. There's no
the amount of
limit.
Memory that they have. I mean, it's like if you look at the evolution of music and video games, it's always limited by the technology, right? So you start with 32-bit, and now you've got full-on orchestral scores that will respond to what you're doing in the environment, which blows my mind. How they actually program that. So I guess it's the same. It's actually a capacity thing that they're able to record every permutation of every conversation you could ever have.
But I guess there's still, on the other scale, there are still video games being made that don't necessarily have the budget for full motion capture,
and they're still amazing.
Yes, and acting in those games is still largely done in a voice booth. I guess what are the different challenges for you as an actor between being able to motion capture your character and your only involvement in that character being the voice? How do you approach those two scenarios?
I think you've nailed it in that there is a difference. I think sight reading is a really good skill to have in this industry because, again, NDAs and everything. And they'll change it. They might change it the night before. I mean, the good thing is you're not expected to learn any of this stuff. So you better be good at that. Ask questions, all that stuff, especially for audio only. With the body, the more visual it gets with you, I think the easier it gets because it's that full performance. So I'll give you a really stark example. So in voice, tradition, everyone has seen that video of Robin Williams playing the genie, right, in Aladdin, where he is bouncing off the walls, right? If you watch anyone in animation, they will do whatever they have to do to get that noise out of their mouth. As Karlak, I couldn't do that because I was doing the mocap, so it required my full body, and so that she needed a sort of stillness and a heaviness and a presence because she's so big. If it's me flapping about, weird, right? It just looks weird on such a big character, a bit unnerving. So I had to have that discipline. So it was a more of a learning curve going in because I had to learn the rules of her space, like how much she moves, when she moves, where her central point for me, of course, was the heart, I think, which should be for obvious reasons. But I also like to think that she bench pressed without stretching. enough, so she was very stiff in the shoulders. That really helped me stay still.
She just went, just did a bit too much.
Hard.
Just went too hard. Didn't really prep for it. But she's rocking it,
and a big metal thing in her chest. But that really helped. But that wasn't going to help me get her voice out. So I always say for Carlac, the voice was the very last thing. There were rules. She was going to be working class, and she's going to be from the south of England, because most of our voices are from the south of England. So that really narrows it down. And we've got the text, you've got the body, and then the voice is a result of those two things, if that makes sense. So it was just fun. I really enjoy putting the puzzles together. I say now that it was like reading a choose your own adventure book from cover to cover and then going, oh, that was go left. That was page 26. Got it now. Actually, could we go back? Because I think I've got a different way, and then to that was the fun of it. With the indie games, and the more indie they are, of course, you're more likely to have the whole script. You know what other people say about you, which is huge to me, because there's things we're unaware of, and then you can play irony, you can play the opposition, which people love. It works really well dramatically. You record chronologically sometimes in indies, not always, but most of the time. Hobbs Barrow being a good example of that. So it's different every time. And even talking about Mocap, talking to the guys from Kingdom Come Deliverance, we did a panel together, actually, funny enough, and both learnt how we'd all done it, because I think sometimes they're in the same room together. We never were.
Right.
That's one thing, because each studio has their own way of working, so it's really hard to explain what we do. So it's always just be an actor, and then you'll be ready to adapt, because it really is just that adaptation. It's the same thing. You're telling a story through your voice and body and whatever, but the requirements might be different.
And I guess just going back to your sort of like your background, you studied at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. Did you always want to be an actor? Is one part of that question. Another part, based on what we've chatted about so far, I guess I'm assuming when you're at Guildhall, you weren't taught specifically about acting in video games.
Nothing.
How do you...
Absolutely nothing.
How do you, I guess... I don't know if that is a thing. I'm presuming it's changing now in drama schools. But so I guess it's just a case of you learning on the job for video game acting.
Yeah, so I did not want to be an actor growing up. Okay. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a musician. And I went to grammar school, and they said that I had to have a degree in sort of maths, physics, music. So they just made it up. Because
maths and physics for music as well? Or they just made it up?
Yeah, I wanted to be a producer, because I couldn't say rock and roll star or whatever. But it's like,
hello.
Fine. Hello.
I mean, I think you could say rock and roll star. And
in another life, I worked I became a very cool producer, just by the way.
I mean, there's always still time.
But I wussed out, because everyone was like, no, you must have a degree. It doesn't matter what. And I knew I liked stories. So that was books were always very comforting. I love stories. And it was during my English degree, we did a Shakespeare module, and being in London, there's a lot of Shakespeare on, so I saw a lot of Shakespeare, and I went, oh, it's that the performance of it struck me much deeper than reading it. And obviously Shakespeare's not really meant to be read, but there was something about the word performed, brought to life, that really got me. And when I was younger, I was very shy. I was taken to dancing, singing and acting classes at the weekend. I did it every weekend for years. But acting, I couldn't quite understand. I couldn't see where the strings were, if that were. It was singing, you either hit the note or you don't.
Yeah.
Dancing, you either hit that pose or you don't. And acting, you couldn't, it's so subjective. I just couldn't work it out as a young kid. And then it was that light bulb moment in my early 20s where I was like, okay. So I finished the degree and then I went straight to Guildhall. I had done the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy before then, but that was for Radio 4, and I didn't think that was going to prepare me to be a full actor.
Okay.
And there's also, I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome, because that would imply I was an expert who doesn't think they're very good. I was a total rookie. Everyone in that room is voices I grew up with. They were all famous, and I had to just go, yep, this is normal, this is fine.
So how did you get involved doing the Hitchhiker's job?
So I started, looking into acting a little bit, but and it was right place, right time. I had an audition for a pilot for a comedy show, and the guy doing it said, he didn't give me the role for that, but said, oh yeah, I was friends with Douglas Adams, and they're looking for like this angry teenage daughter for Arthur and Trillian for the adaptation of the 5th book, which is called Mostly Harmless. It's very good. Not many people have read it, but I'm in that. And recommending me for that. And I was just a shouty teenager. It was a thorn in his side. So we got to do that. And then when I graduated from Guildhall, and I wasn't getting anything, because they were saying the nice term is ethnically ambiguous. And in the UK, it goes against you, basically. They just was going, can't tell where you're from. Why don't you pretend to be Spanish or Middle Eastern, or please just get out of my office. Or, it was just very, and so these more anonymous media like audio and like games, of course, didn't care what I looked like. And so I sort of thrived in that environment where you could, ironically, couldn't see what I looked like. This is all revenge, getting my face out there. But yeah, it's been wild. It's been something else.
And can you remember what was the first video game you did then?
Yeah, it was Nelly Coutelot and the Foul Fleet.
And how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, a filmmaker. I was doing the short films at the London Film School, and one of the graduating filmmakers put me in touch with Alistair Beckett-King, who wrote it. He's a well-known comedian. And it's sort of pirate point-and-click adventure, I guess in the style of Monkey Island.
That sounds awesome.
It's very cool.
Wow.
And I played one of the baddies in it, and some other voices too. And when I got to cast it, that's when I went, casting's easy, because they were going to put an anonymous thing up on the internet, and I was like, you're going to get 2,000 people to wade through. I can put you in touch with the Hitchhiker's Guide cast. Would you like that? And they went, yeah. So that's what we did.
Nice.
We had the late Susan Sheridan, who was wonderful. Look her up. She's got so many voices back in the 80s for kids animation. We had Toby Longworth, and we had all sorts of folks from the audios and the live talks. We did it on tour. So yeah, after drama school and I don't really get anything, then I do this tour of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy around the UK with all the living actors from Hitchhiker's Guide. And it was wonderful, but it didn't quite work out. We didn't cross the pond, because if that happened, that would have been very different. I've been waiting a while to get started.
Yeah. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, you never know. They might say, hey, here's an anniversary tour. Let's do it again. And
we haven't got forever. That's all I'm saying. Like, can we please get on with it? I'm one of the youngest by far, put it that way, because it was done in the late 70s. So yeah, we got to get on with it if we're going to do it, you know.
So where do you see your future line then, Sam? Are you someone who plans that far ahead? Are you someone who sort of like goes with the flow a little bit more in terms of like, video games is obviously a big thing for you now. Do you want to branch out into sort of other platforms as well? Like, what does the future hold for you?
Yeah, so unlike Starlin, I don't have a 5-year plan. We don't get to choose what we do, okay? That's why you want to become a rounded actor if you get into this. But generally, you don't get to pick and choose the medium you work in or what you're known for. As long as I'm telling stories, I don't care about the medium. I think I can actually give you a short answer for one.
Great. A healthy answer, I think.
It's out of your control, and there's no way winding yourself up about that. And again, that's what I say to actors. You have to love this. It's why a lot of older actors will say, if you can do anything else, go and do it. Because, God, the rejection, the years for me, a decade and a bit of waiting for this stuff, just ploughing away, doing lots of bit of fringe theatre, which no one comes to see. It's all friends and family.
Fringe theatre?
It's unpaid, and it's normally in a room above a pub.
Oh,
If you go to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, so that's a whole celebration. Of course, they have a legit festival as well with touring companies who are paid, but it's generally unpaid. And it can be new writing. A lot of the time you just do stuff that's out of print. So
okay,
it's not Shakespeare. And the odd musical. You can see great musicals for very little money, but it doesn't get that attention, and you're just hoping maybe a casting director will come along. I did that for a long time. And so, yes, getting to games and going, I can literally play anything. I'm not limited by my physicality or my appearance was just so liberating.
Yeah. And I guess you sort of landing in video games now and being a very prominent face and voice in video games, what do you think teenage Samantha Béart would have thought about that? Someone who was playing games at the time, and now you're in the video games that you used to enjoy.
Teenage Samantha Béart would be like, I thought you were going to be a guitarist.
What was the Rockstar plan? What happened to that?
So that is like, no, it would have been the first thing I did when I got Baldur's Gate 3 was played as Karlach. Look, I am the star of a video game.
Yeah.
I'll fight go. People are like, isn't that very vain? I was like, I'm not romancing myself, am I?
Yeah, no, that's very fair, actually. That's very fair.
I'm just going, it sounds quite a bit like me. It's not 100% like me. And I'd probably go around smashing things, trying to kiss everybody. Yeah, let's do it. That was the ultimate for me. I think the only good use of AI in games I can think of is it clones the player's voice and then it's you in the game. That could be fun. They wouldn't misuse that media at all, would they? No.
Were you going to ask something, Rosie? Sorry.
I was going to say, I was just going to say, I don't blame you for playing Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3 because you have also invested way more hours than anyone else in the world. People would have thought I've put the most hours in learning about this character, but you are literally, you'd be like, no, you haven't.
And there's still stuff that people haven't uncovered or are more unpopular choices, so they haven't really seen it. Someone said recently that they played as Karlach and then they teamed up with Raphael and they got all these lines I've forgotten, I'd say.
Oh, really?
Because no one wants to do that with her. It makes sense. They don't want to do that with her. So there's all that sort of stuff. And I said evil endings and things that not many people have actually played. You can watch it on YouTube, but people won't play it. So that's really interesting. So and we've all got that. Our equivalent origin characters all have these blind spots. People just don't want to investigate.
I was going to say, is there like any sort of, not regret, but like sadness? Is there particular performances that you're like, oh, I really nailed that one, but it's like down a path where not a lot of people choose to go?
No. It's an interactive medium. You got to allow people to play as they want. And what's lovely is that gives it longevity.
Yes.
People will, I think the future of Baldur's Gate, people will be starting to play contrary to what they've done before.
Yeah.
I think that might be the next evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got your Fading Echo t-shirt on.
I have.
We should come to this now. Because you also mentioned to me when we caught up that you're in lots of things coming up that you're very excited about, many of which you can't talk about, which must be very frustrating.
It is. One of them I've been waiting 18 months to talk about because the actors strike. I signed on and then the actors strike happened 2 weeks after.
I guess that must be quite a common experience though. Yeah. Like sometimes it's going to be actual years before the work you're doing ever gets seen by anyone. Yeah. But what can you tell us about the future projects that you are involved in?
Why don't I start? There's Absalom, which is coming out 9th of October. That's a beat 'em up from the folks that brought you Street Fighter 4. Side-scrolling, beat 'em up, lots of fun. There's some narrative. There's more narrative than you normally get in that genre. I'm playing one of 4 playable characters. They're called Cider, a cyborg with a telescopic arm to punch baddies in the face.
Love it.
There's 3 other very cool characters as well. I guess there's a mage, there's a fighter, there's a paladin.
So is it co-op?
Switch between them. Yes, it can be. It can be single player. So that's really cool, and that's coming to, I guess, all consoles and PC and everything. And then you've got Tron Catalyst. We did establish that this came out on PC, PS5. That's really cool. It's a Mike Bithell game. I play Oracle, who's kind of like, if you know, James Bond is like a Q character. He's going to tool you up and be a little bit fruity about it, darling. Don't touch that, it explodes, dear. And then you've got Fading Echo, which I am not under NDA for. Very, very, very unusual.
So here's the ending down the barrel for Fading Echo. Here's all the spoilers.
Echo is...
No, don't spoil. Don't spoil the story.
I'm not going to spoil it.
I'm
just going to say that this particular game, the devs have said, is about 5% of the world. So we have to make this game sell really well. Just play it and then you'll get everything. It's based on a TTRPG. I think it's about 8 years old now. So again,
really?
if it's successful, they will then develop that and make that public. Oh, they're going to take over the world if this takes off. And we have Matt and Laura from Critical Role, who are in it as supporting roles. And we've got Jasmine Bullard, if you know her, she's amazing, great DM. She's writing it and she's also in it.
So by Matt and Laura, do you mean Matt Mercer and Laura Bailey?
Yeah, I do.
Just Matt and Laura.
Matt and
my
Laura.
friends,
Well, I figured you're either going to know who that is or you're not. So I thought I'd keep it
Yeah,
short.
but I always call them, to me, they're Matt Mercer and Laura Bailey. And to you, they're just Matt and Laura.
It's just Matt and Laura. I mean, I've not met Laura yet. So I've met Matt a few times, but I haven't met Laura. I just thought it'd be cool, but I won't do that.
It is very cool.
Please do
it's
that.
very cool, but that goes to how cool you are compared to us.
So it just took me like 5 to 10 seconds before I was like, Matt and Laura from Critical.
Oh yeah,
right.
Sam is so much cooler than us.
And it's French anime style. It's really bright. It reminds me of Wind Waker, actually, a Zelda game. It's really bright and cool, and my character turns into water.
That is cool.
To get through obstacles, to solve puzzles.
It's like water in the hair, isn't it? Like, is it?
Yeah, so a haircut. I'm waiting for the cosplays. Please make me
is that
gravity-defying
your character
wig.
on your
And if I
t-shirt?
show you the back, Rosie, you'll see there's a little smiling blob of water.
Yeah, is that the
back.
character when it's when
she turns into water?
Oh my god,
so
that's
I've
adorable.
had this really literally fiery character, and now I've got this water-based character. I'm really looking forward to how people receive that.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's very cool, and she interacts with lava, poison, all these things. So it's puzzle game as well as an adventure game. And like they said, you're getting a tiny part of the world of Echo, and hopefully, as more things get released, you'll see more and more of that world.
I love.
It's very cool.
I can feel the excitement.
I've played
coming
it.
out of you.
They've let me play it. This is unprecedented. They let me play it. I met the lead animator. That's changed the performance.
This is amazing.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to
Because-
come out and you go, oh man, if I knew she was as sort of bendy and stretchy as that,
Okay.
I would have given that something else.
Yeah.
So now I've got it, and it's not in the sometimes they just show you in the studio and you have to very quickly come up with something, and that's fine, whatever. But I think sometimes the fear is, oh, it's not finished. It doesn't matter. Just give me something to think about.
Yeah.
And then I'm ready when I go in, and I don't ask loads of questions, and time is money in the studio.
I
so-
found this amazing though, because surely this should be how it's done, right?
Yeah.
Like bringing a character to life in a video game.
I'm on their Discord.
Isn't just
See what they're saying.
Yeah, it's not just doing the voice. Like you say,
right.
you've spoken to the animator,
Yeah.
and now your knowledge of how the character
It's
moves
changed a
is
bit.
going to
Yeah.
impact how you do the voice.
Yeah, so I hope it's good.
So is
If
this
it's really flat, I'm sorry.
so is this a case of like you do the voice first, then the animator animates over that, or
No, I think
it's the
they've
other
pretty
way?
much done it, and yeah, normally you come in last.
Okay.
as
Oh,
the
okay,
performer.
right.
But yeah, they'll move the lips to what I do. I'm not syncing. I'm not, and I'm certainly not localization.
Yeah.
I guess if it was to be, someone would have to then use my performance as a template. Yeah, sorry about that if that's happening. But yeah, the lip flaps, as I believe they call it in animation.
Really?
Yes, lip flaps would be the lot. I guess those two things would go together at the end. I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
everything else is, I'm guessing, like animated everything else, then they can just tweak the
guess so.
mouth like,
Yeah,
like,
but that would only be for cinematics, right? If you're like running, you've got the back of it, you're running around and you've got that third person perspective. You don't need that. It's fine.
nah, that's fine.
Are you ever recording over the top of gameplay that you're watching? Does that ever happen?
Yes, so when I did
Yeah.
Demon's Souls, and I was, to use a BG3 term, I was equivalent of Tav. I was female voice B.
Female voice
Yes,
B.
I had to be thrown off things and
Right.
set on fire, but in a very English language way, because obviously it's recording Japanese first. And they didn't even give us that as a template. I think there was like, make it be shocked. So I'd go, but the Japanese will, and it is different. You can't get away with localizing some of it and
Yeah.
not the rest. Like we do express ourselves differently, and that was really fun. That was really fun because the third party recording studio tried to keep that secret. And I could see you died on the screen.
So did you voice just one of the voices for
the main
for the protagonist?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice little footnote, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so cool because literally
Yeah.
I played that and now I'm trying to think, oh my god, did I go with like voice B?
Oh, people didn't like B because it was very aggressive.
But I love that.
The others were quite girly. They're a little bit tennis player. Female tennis player. They're a bit sexier than I was, I think. So I'm not sure I was the most popular.
No, I
I
mean-
figured I was the more warrior type. But the great thing about Salt, because they didn't really want to tell me what it was, right? So you don't.
Why this secrecy?
You might ask for more money. Who knows? I
Right.
don't know. This is why when third, fourth party start stepping into this. It's all the secrecy. But when you get killed, Baldur's Gate can be a real big death cry or whatever, right? Because that's the only time, unless you got withers in your back pocket. But for Souls, they were like, "Can you just be a bit tougher, please?" And I'm thinking, why? And it's because you die a lot in this game. Is it a Souls game? No. It's a Souls game, right? No. Woman, no. Where'd you say that?
It's really
says
hard.
you died. You're just really hard and you die a lot, but you
Yeah.
come back. It's like, not a Souls game again.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna have to start a new Demon
Please.
Souls run through now.
Please, kill
just
me
so
in
I
different
can-
ways.
so I can select your
Dude,
voice track.
they were like, I had to be electrocuted, set on fire, falling at different heights on fire. You have to do all of those things. It's really fun. I played the
Falling-
first chapter fully, but then I was getting quite frustrated.
How
with
do you
it.
fall versus falling on fire?
Oh, it's a lot screamier. I'm not going
Right.
to do it down the mic for your sake. But like falling at 30 feet, obviously there's a cut off.
Yeah.
At 50 feet, longer cut off. And then on fire, in pain at those.
In pain whilst you're
While
falling.
you're falling.
Your
Right.
flesh melting and
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
also falling
That's
and
the one.
terrified. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Are these days fun when you get to do all just like the death noises?
Hell
and
yeah,
the falling?
it's just preserving that voice and making sure you don't, scream. Because, you want it to sound realistic and
Yeah.
everything. And this is where the theatre training comes in, because we're trained to use the diaphragm and to talk at a loud level on stage. It's not too bad, but yeah, death screams and that. Or they had one where like your blood is rising through to your throat. And you're dying because there's, and there's that and the screaming, and that will knacker your voice out.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
like SAG-AFTRA have been great at codifying this stuff because they have unions in the way we don't in this country. And so they'll say if it's a screaming day, 2 hours tops. Otherwise, the session is only
Okay.
4 hours because your voice starts to get
Right.
tired. But also, as the performer, you've got to look after it because you might have a commercial tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which will be worth a lot of money. And I know people have stuffed that up because it'll come in very last minute or something. And they've given it their session. They've gone, yeah, I'm a good worker. Look at, and it's gone. So there's always, I think you should always have a level of self-preservation with these things. Save the screaming to the end.
Do you have like a special cocktail that you have to keep your voice?
That's all placebo.
Okay. Right.
Because if you think about where your larynx is, it's on the path to the lungs, yes? So if you drink tea or whatever, it's not actually going to the voice box, otherwise you would choke.
I see.
You see, but the heat will comfort, it'll warm, it will relax it a little bit, but rest is the only thing. Once you start to fray that voice, all you can do is rest.
Do you do anything like before your recording session? Because I remember like when I did like theatre studies at school for a bit, I remember one of the other students was like, never have a bar of chocolate before a performance.
Yeah, there's all these things about dairy because it can clog your throat.
Yeah, like
milk,
clogs.
dairy.
And ever since I'd like never thought of it before because I'd used to just be like, oh yeah, sugar before a performance. Like, let's get up and going.
Well, sugar's
and
fine. You can have some Haribo or something.
Yeah, and then it's like when I had like a chocolate, because I ate chocolate, which is why they said you shouldn't have a chocolate bar. And I was like, oh no, it's too late. It's in my bowl.
It's too late. My acting's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and then literally I was like thinking about like just my voice because it's thick,
I think
isn't
it's
it?
a singer thing because
Is it
it
a
will
singer
really
thing?
affect. I mean, they'll notice that difference. Let's put it that way. I would say, God, you used to do like articulation drills and that, but that now sounds very theatrical. They want that really natural performance now, so that's great for me because it saves me time. You get a whole tube carriage to yourself. You start doing warm-ups. Top tip.
I love that so much.
Start reading, trying to memorize that script out loud. You'll get the whole carriage to yourself.
Amazing. Great tips for if you want to not be bothered during your train journey.
That's right.
And have some chocolate before, so then your voice is extra crispy.
So extra crispy. Start yelling at
yourself. And then
have the same conversation but slightly different.
Yep. Each time, repeat the same lines again and again.
So just to wrap things up, Sam, are you playing anything at the moment, or have you played anything recently that you particularly enjoyed?
The irony of being so busy is that I now don't have time to play many games apart from the ones I'm in, because I like to see how that worked out in the end. I would love to play the Indiana Jones game because I think we need to make punching Nazis cool again, and I think they've done that very well in that game. I think Troy did an incredible job because that's a hard voice to do.
He's had
he did
two
it so well.
pretty amazing performances recently. That one, and I don't know if you've played Death Stranding 2.
Not yet.
But Higgs in that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah? Oh,
great.
Cool. Amazing.
It feels like he's having just a great time doing that.
And then, there's games my friends are in. Why don't I start there? Before I play things I actually want to play. Don't listen to that, friends. It's a joke.
They're all going to message you like, Sam, what do you mean?
Some other idiot's game. I wasn't talking about yours.
You said you're going to play my game next.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Sorry, it's on the list.
There's a list of games and regrets as long as my arm. Yeah.
Well, Sam, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you once again.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to playing Fading Echo and getting to play with your character who has special water powers.
Yes.
I do love water in video games.
Ooh.
So can't wait to see what the water hair looks like.
Yes.
And good luck with all of the secret projects as well.
Yes.
You'll have to come back on and tell us about them when you are allowed to.
Thank you.
And we look forward to that very much. If you've got any questions for Sam, maybe pop them in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, we will be back in 2 weeks' time with the next episode of the PlayStation Access podcast. We'll see you then.
PlayStation